Start with one cleaner, one client, and a few $100s in basic supplies, and it's possible to build something generating over $10 million in total revenue within a decade. That's genuinely what happened with one home cleaning business that began with a single person cleaning a single house. Today we're breaking down exactly how a home cleaning business actually works, using real founder stories and real industry numbers, from people who built this from literally nothing. Here's how it actually started for one founder, a guy who launched his cleaning company in Los Angeles with exactly one cleaner in 2013. He didn't start with a big team or a fancy office. He started with a specific, narrow idea. Instead of competing for every type of cleaning job in the city, he focused specifically on cleaning Airbnbs and vacation rentals, a niche most cleaning companies weren't paying close attention to at the time. That single decision, choosing one specific type of customer instead of trying to serve everyone, became the entire foundation the business grew from. Years later, that same business had generated over $10 million in total revenue and eventually expanded into a franchise model so other people could replicate the exact same system in their own cities. Here's a completely different founder story that shows this same business model working at a different scale. One man spent 7 years quietly saving $150,000 before he finally opened his own residential cleaning company. He didn't invent something new. House cleaning has existed forever. What he actually did differently was treat a genuinely unglamorous industry with real strategic thinking. He built a customer feedback system that directly tied employee pay to how happy customers actually were with their cleaning, which meant his team had a real immediate incentive to do excellent work every single time, not just whenever a manager happened to be watching. That one system helped grow his company into more than 80 locations, cleaning close to 400,000 homes in a single year and generating $25 million in annual revenue. Here's what makes this specific business genuinely accessible in a way a lot of other businesses simply aren't. The barrier to entry is remarkably low. A minimal solo residential cleaning setup can realistically start with somewhere between $500 and $3,000, covering basic supplies, insurance, and simple marketing. Even a more professional setup with better equipment and a real marketing push typically runs somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. Compare that to almost any other legitimate business, a restaurant, a retail store, a manufacturing operation, and cleaning remains one of the lowest cost ways to start something real with your own name and your own hours. Here's how the actual money breaks down once someone gets moving. A solo cleaner working full-time typically earns somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. That's a real, livable income built entirely from one person's own time and effort, with profit margins for solo operators often landing between 20% and 35% after expenses, because there's no team to pay, no office overhead, and minimal administrative cost. Once someone builds a small team, somewhere between 2 and 5 cleaners, revenue typically climbs to $100,000 to $300,000 a year, though margins compress slightly down to roughly 15% to 25%, because now there's payroll, training, and coordination to manage. And at the largest end of this industry, established companies with 10 or more employees can exceed $500,000, sometimes well past $1 million annually. Here's a detail that surprises a lot of people once they actually look closely at how this industry performs financially. According to founder-reported data across hundreds of real cleaning businesses, the potential ceiling on this industry is remarkably high. Some individual cleaning businesses have reported earning over $2 million a year, and in many cases, founders report getting their entire initial investment back within just a few months of operating, not years. That's an unusually fast payback period compared to most small businesses, which is a big part of why this specific industry keeps attracting new entrepreneurs every single year, even though it looks, on the surface, like a fairly ordinary, unglamorous service. Here's why the timing on this particular business happens to be genuinely strong right now. The global cleaning business market is valued at $472 billion in 2026, and it's growing at a rate of about 7.1% annually. In the United States alone, the residential cleaning industry generates over $20 billion every year, with nearly 3 million cleaning jobs supporting that demand. Two specific trends are driving this growth even further. More households have 2 working parents with genuinely less free time to handle deep cleaning themselves, and more people are specifically hiring cleaners for short-term rental properties, exactly the niche that built the $10 million business we talked about earlier, as vacation rental platforms keep expanding into more cities worldwide. Here's the part that actually separates the founders who built something substantial from the ones who quietly struggled or gave up. It's rarely about the cleaning skill itself. Vacuuming, dusting, and scrubbing a bathroom are skills most people can genuinely learn within days, not months. What actually determines whether a cleaning business grows or stalls is pricing discipline, consistent quality, and efficient scheduling. Businesses that price their services too low just to win customers quickly often end up trapped, working constantly while barely covering their own costs. The founders who built real, lasting businesses instead treated pricing seriously from the very beginning, tracked their actual expenses carefully, and built systems, proper booking software, clear service standards, dependable scheduling, instead of relying purely on memory, phone calls, and good intentions. Here's an honest reality check worth understanding before jumping into this, because most videos on this topic skip it entirely. Hiring your first employee is often the hardest financial moment in this entire business, not the easiest. The moment you bring on your first cleaner, your profit margins temporarily compress, because you're now paying wages and payroll taxes on top of every cost you already had, and it typically takes 2 to 3 months of genuinely lower margins before that new employee's added capacity actually pays for itself. A lot of solo cleaners try to skip past this uncomfortable stretch and either burn out working entirely alone or hire too fast without financially preparing for that temporary dip and end up in a cash crunch that could have been anticipated from the start. There's also a scheduling reality worth understanding as this grows. Most cleaning businesses genuinely start with nothing more than phone calls and text messages to manage bookings. And that approach works completely fine for the first handful of clients, maybe 5 or so. But it reliably breaks down somewhere around 20 regular clients when double bookings, missed appointments, and forgotten follow-ups start happening. The founders who scaled successfully switched to proper scheduling and invoicing software well before that breaking point, not after things had already started falling apart. So here's the actual takeaway. A home cleaning business isn't a business that requires a unique invention, expensive equipment, or a large amount of starting capital most people don't have sitting around. It requires choosing a specific type of customer to focus on, pricing your work honestly instead of racing to the bottom, and building simple, repeatable systems before you're forced to by growing chaos. The founders behind the real examples we walked through today didn't start with millions of dollars or some secret advantage. One started with a single cleaner and a specific niche nobody else was focusing on. The other spent years patiently saving before finally starting, then built one specific system, tying pay to customer happiness, that ended up defining his entire company's culture and growth. Before you go, I'm curious about you specifically. What do you actually do for work right now? How old are you and where are you watching this from? And what was your very first job or your first real business idea if you've ever started one? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one and I'd genuinely love to know who's actually watching these breakdowns.